Lodi wagged his tail excitedly. He loved playing fetch with his best friend Petmalu. Petmalu was an astronaut. He was brave and adventurous. Lodi was a loyal and playful golden retriever. They were inseparable. Petmalu had built Lodi a special rocket toy. It looked just like the one Petmalu would use to go to the moon. Lodi barked happily, chasing after the toy rocket as Petmalu threw it. They spent hours playing in the park, their laughter echoing through the trees. Lodi felt a pang of sadness whenever Petmalu had to leave for work. Petmalu would always scratch Lodi behind the ears and promise to bring back moon rocks. Lodi would whine and nudge Petmalu's leg, not wanting him to go, but he knew his best friend had an important job to do. One day, Petmalu received exciting news. He was going on a special mission to the moon. This time, he was tasked with collecting samples of lunar water. Petmalu was ecstatic. This was his biggest adventure yet. Petmalu blasted off into space. He was excited to explore the unknown. He landed on the moon and began collecting samples. He hummed happily to himself as he worked. He couldn't wait to come home and tell Lodi all about it. As Petmalu gathered the lunar water, he stumbled upon a hidden cave. Curious, he entered. Inside, he found a glowing orb filled with shimmering liquid. It pulsed with an eerie light. He reached out to touch it. Suddenly, the orb shattered. The liquid splashed onto Petmalu, covering him from head to toe. He screamed in pain as the strange substance began to change him. His body contorted, growing scales and fins. His teeth sharpened into razor-sharp points. When the transformation was complete, Petmalu was no more. In his place stood a horrifying creature. It was a monstrous hybrid of piranha and human, driven by an insatiable hunger. This was Werpanaut, a creature of pure instinct and malice. Back on Earth, Lodi sensed something was wrong. He whined and paced, unable to shake the feeling of dread. Then, he saw it. A fiery object streaked across the sky and crashed into the nearby lake. Lodi knew in his heart that it was Petmalu's spaceship. He raced towards the crash site, barking frantically. As he approached the lake, a terrifying figure emerged from the water. It was Werpanaut, and it was ravenous. Werpanaut began to wreak havoc, devouring everything in sight. Buildings crumbled, trees were uprooted, and people fled in terror. The world was plunged into chaos. Lodi watched in horror, his heart breaking for his friend and for the world he knew. Distraught but determined, Lodi knew he had to act. He remembered an old legend. It was a story Petmalu used to tell him about a powerful wizard named Zombalungot. Zombalungot was said to have guarded 10 elemental gems, each containing immense power. Legend had it that these gems held the key to defeating even the most formidable evils. Lodi knew this was his only hope. He had to find Zombalungot and the 10 gems. He had to save his friend and the world from the monster Petmalu had become.